Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time again for Not Talking Movies with Ron and Mean Gene. And boy, I look back on the time that we have spent together, and the evolution of this has been utterly outstanding. As more and more circumstances make this more and more difficult to do, let's just face it, we keep getting better and better. Gentlemen, welcome. How are you?
Oh, great. Thank you.
Doing well. Doing well. Are we kind of reflecting here momentarily before we get going? Because I was looking back at the very first time when I contacted you, Ron, to do the podcast at KTV, and I just kind of threw it out there. I said, we're starting this podcast thing. I'd like to have you come in and do something on movies. And you're like, I got this guy that I've been doing these things with, and, can I bring him along too? And I said, why not? Let's do it. Next thing I know, Eric Zane's in the studio with you, and the rest is history, as they say. And it's been almost a year, I think.
I think it's been more than that.
I don't know.
No, you're right. You're right. I think
We
you're right.
started podcasting last March at the station, and it wasn't much longer after that you guys started. I'll have to get a date. Maybe we have an anniversary coming up.
Yeah, you know what? I think you are right. My gosh. Yeah, and I remember how it came up with Ron, and at the time, and I still do this. I've gotten in the habit of always say yes, and that's a Ryan Seacrest trait that he just say yes. Not everything you were going to want to do is going to jive exactly with the linear things that are going on in your brain, but the more you say yes, the more good that's going to come out of that. And that's kind of a lot to do with just a working mindset and networking and a lot of great things have come out of it. I look back at the times that we've shared, and it's been so much fun. I remember at the Metro Cruise. I mean, I was given the opportunity to do the Metro Cruise, and I loved doing that. I mean, I found out something that I really love to do. And hopefully, God willing, that can happen again. I can't say enough about the time that we have spent together. It's always been great. And I have a relationship that's even deeper now with Ron, and I have a new friend in Gene. So what the hell, man? This is fantastic. Just because we said yes.
Yeah. And Eric, was it not at about the same time that you were transitioning from a morning show to where you are now that we started this, or were you actually still on the air at that time?
No, we were fully I was doing the podcast, and I didn't know whether I was coming or going at the time. I just kept podcasting as much as I could. And then when you brought that up, I was like, well, yeah, let's do it. And that added some real validation to doing the content, because let's face it, it looks fantastic. It's always a fantastic look at the studio. The professional nature of it was always top notch. And that, it all was great. I look back very fondly on everything we had done together.
Yeah, it was fun too. Bottom line, it was a lot of fun.
Listen, and he says it was fun, as if there is no future in our relationship.
There is definitely a future in our relationship, but there is something that we're leading up to, and I think that the only thing we can do right now is hand it off to Ron, because Ron, you said you wanted to say something that was very, very important to you. Could you please maybe take us through that?
Well, I wanted to share in this format with you guys a little bit about the end of my career with Lokes Theaters. After 44 years, I am now officially retired from that job, which I started in June of 1976 after spending my junior year in college at Michigan State University. I came back to my hometown, Grand Rapids, looking for a summer job, and Lokes Theaters at that time had posted a 3x5 card in the placement office of Grand Rapids Junior College, back when it was called JC, not CC like it is now. And I answered this ad at the placement office off this little postcard. And they had actually already hired somebody in the position they were trying to fill, but they didn't like her. They liked me, and they let this other person go and hired me literally to cut and paste ads in this little 3-person advertising and public relations office, as they called it. And so I was, doing newspaper cut and paste ads for Muskegon Chronicle, the Grand Rapids Press, Kalamazoo Gazette, and we at the time had a theater in Mount Pleasant as well with the Morning Sun. I put ads in the paper, keylined those things, did the proofs. That was my start in the advertising business for the theaters back in 1976.
Wow, so that's a lot of physical legwork that you were doing at that time, and then the career blossomed, and that's the only job you've had since
Insane.
June
So I was
of
19.
1976.
Yeah.
Ron, this is a huge bit of news. I mean, both for your personal life, your professional career, and all of the people that you encounter every day of the week with your job of talking movies. I mean, I cannot imagine what is going through your head right now. Joy, but at the same time, you got to be just kind of reeling, isn't that right? I mean, can you explain what you're feeling right now?
Well, honestly, I was planning to retire in October of this year. I turned 65 years old. That seemed like a pretty good time after 44 years on my 65th birthday to retire. So I've been kind of leaning that way and training people to do my job. And then, of course, what happened in March when we went on furlough and the theaters shut down, I kind of got a taste of what it was like to be retired, and I kind of liked it.
Okay.
Exactly.
And well, let's just say that as circumstances with a lot of businesses have changed in terms of the economics of the business, and the opportunity to retire at this point in time was offered. I have to say, I loved working for the Lokes family, 3 generations of the Lokes family. Jack Lokes, the original founder in 1944. I worked with him in my early years. Jim Lokes, one of Jack's sons, was part of the business and started the Star Theater circuit, if you all remember that, still one up
Yep.
on Alpine Avenue, now an AMC theater. They sold out to AMC theaters. Did the big expansion into Detroit with the Star Theater circuit at that time. And then the company split up between Jim and Barry Lokes and their Star Theater circuit. And then John Lokes, Jack's other son, came in to be the president and CEO of the company. And then that transition went to the 3rd generation of Lokeses, with J.D. Lokes being the president and a COO at this point. John still the CEO and owner. So, I mean, that family business dynamic since 1944, 75 years, 76 now, I guess, really was a stable career for me in show business. And, being from Grand Rapids in the West Michigan area, I had my little slice of showbiz here, working in the theater business and then doing radio commentary, as well as spots and podcasts. And so I got a little chance to dip my toe into media. I always loved radio growing up. I thought that was a fun career. And it was for a long time for a lot of people, not so much anymore. But anyway, it's time to move along. And yet I still want to do as much as I can with this podcasting thing. I'm still going to do a couple of radio call-ins and interviews, and yet transitioning out of most of my daily work life is I'm really enjoying it.
Well, listen, man, you have the footprint of Ron, the personality, and people love that. And so, I mean, I would love if we could keep the band together to just do this, or when we can do it in person, just because people love your brain, Ron. They didn't listen because the movies that were being played. They listened and paid attention because it was you, and you've got a lot to say. So, I mean, to me, if you can fit into your schedule the silliness that is us 3, I mean, that's a winning combination, if you ask me. Gene, I'm guessing I can speak for you on that, Gene, right?
Absolutely. He has no schedule, Eric. He can
I know it.
Yeah, trust me.
What does he care? He's like, yeah, whatever. I'm at the beach.
Absolutely. I used to look forward to, you guys have no idea how much I looked forward to our half hour every week simply, it was a lot of fun, but it was incredibly interesting, and you guys knew, everybody knew what they were talking about, and it was a great half. Truly, I did. I looked forward to that half hour every single week.
Amen. Amen. I always, I never got tired of it. I was excited with anticipation when I started working with you guys at KTV, because it was at WKTV, because it was a little different. And then I always loved it too. I'd love the ride over. I'd love the interaction. We had so many memories. Remember that bird that kept building a nest on everybody's car? Remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, in that short amount of time, a lot of fun things happened, man. It was great.
The ladies with the wine, I'll never forget. Eric was
yeah.
really turned on.
Oh, they were. Well, it's because they looked at me and they had like heart eyes. They were loving me, going ooga ooga. And
those were the Polish ladies.
I love those. Well, then they're Polish women, so they're hairy, and I really love that.
Oh, the fetishes are coming out now too. I don't know about that.
All right.
That's wrong.
No, Ron, at 65, 66, is that what you said?
I'm 64 right
Okay.
now. I'll be 65 in October.
Tall, lean Dutch. What are you going to do for the next 50 years?
My number one goal in retirement is not to spend another winter in Michigan. So I'm going to be on the road starting in November, at least through March of next year. So
yeah,
this may be a road show coming up.
Doing what?
You have like a motorhome?
Yeah, it's going to be the traveling RV. Those are my initials. So I thought I might as well get one and call it RV's RV,
Just so you know, and I know, I can't tell you how many people I know who are exactly where you are right now, or were, and they did that. They did the RV thing for 1 year, 2 years. They go to Arizona, Florida. Eventually, they said, screw it, we're buying a place.
Yep.
They picked a spot because they traveled all of them and bought a house down there. I predict within 5 years, you will be a homeowner in a southern state.
Yes, there's another goal to achieve. Absolutely.
I'm right behind you. I'm going to live in Tennessee. I decided that about 20 years ago. I love
Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
Go further south. You still got winter in Tennessee.
That's all right. I love Tennessee. That's why I got the Tennessee state flag right over my shoulder. It's what's there for.
Oh, nice.
Are you like a closet hillbilly?
No, I am a hillbilly. I can
Really?
promise
In
you.
the closet.
Oh yeah, I am so in the closet. Oh yeah.
How did that transpire? What brought
Well,
that?
you see, I lived there for a while.
Oh, okay. All
So
right.
I got a taste of the momentum, and I was like, "Oh, this is great. I love it." So absolutely. Let me just tell you, I do have an RV sponsor. Terrytown is my sponsor,
Here we go.
and I'll tell you what, they would love nothing more than to have you in there. I'll talk to you later about this. They are the best.
Nice.
Terrytown, we could do the Terrytown report every week. All you have to do is find internet, and we could have you live from the camper.
There you go. I'm telling you, they're terrific. So, well, Ron, I'm super excited about this. There's a lot of directions I can go, but I like the fact that you've got a plan, and the way you're accepting this, it seems awesome. Is your lovely better half? Is she like, oh, thank God, this is going to be great? She must be super happy, right?
Well, the experiment is still being in progress. Honestly, she has been a delight to be quarantined with, and she's in the other room listening right now. Honey, do you want to quit? No, never. She doesn't want to.
No way.
No, I really have appreciated what it's like to live, 24/7 with my spouse, whom I love, and she has been a delight. And I have been off and on, a little depressed about life moving forward. But listen, when the sun shines and we live on a lake here, and I can go fishing, and we can hang out on the dock and the deck and the boat. I'm looking forward to us having a summer off for the first time in 44 years.
Are you looking out at the lake right now?
Yeah, I am.
Turn your camera around. Give us a shot. Can you give us a shot of your view?
Okay, let me. I'll take you outside a minute. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to do that much, but.
Well, there's a better view if I do that, but.
Just gonna go off the.
if I can see what I'm doing here.
Oh,
There you are.
Yeah,
Nice.
there's the lake.
Love it.
that is
All
tremendous.
right.
What is the name of the lake?
Big Whitefish Lake.
All right.
Big whitefish, not little whitefish.
Big whitefish. There's a little whitefish lake.
Damn,
too,
I
but-
wouldn't. That's going to be a fun summer, just doing your thing at the house, not have to worry about the work week. No stress. I love it.
Right. Well, listen, I'm still an expert in the field of entertainment,
Oh, I
and I'm
know.
going to bring you tidbits. And I can now that I don't represent a company trying to sell movie tickets, I might just diss on everything. I
Well,
think
yeah.
we can.
You could be a shock jock, crazy, just show everybody your wiener and just, lose your mind.
Okay,
Take it.
all right. Yeah, we got to have some guidelines here. Hang on. We're still doing this on KTV. Keep it right. Okay.
Sorry. I forgot where we were.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Eric,
All right.
shock
Sorry about
jock.
that. My fault. Stupid. All right. Now here's what I want to propose, because your job for years, part of it is you would travel to radio stations and be on the air. And so wouldn't it be the funniest thing if I took over for you and went to all those radio stations that hate my guts? And I said, hey, I'm talking movies. I'm the new Ron. Even if it's just for one show, just to get the door slammed in my face. Can you put in a good word for me with Mr. Lokes?
No. I don't think
Come
that's
on.
gonna
I
Hey,
like the idea, though.
You still have to get on the elevator, Eric. I don't think
Yeah.
they're letting you
No,
on.
they don't. No, it's done. It's done. There's no way. They all hate me.
Gosh.
Wow, Ron.
Can I ask you a question, Ron? Like you said, 44 years you've been in the business. What has been, in your eyes, the most significant change, the best and the worst in the movie industry in the 44 years you've been there?
Oh, well, good question, Gene. I mean, obviously, the thing that's been consistent about our business or the movie theater and production side is the constant flow of new product. I mean, when I was in college studying marketing, I had no idea that I would love so much the idea of marketing and programming new content every week. There's always something to talk about, which is why those weekly radio conversations were sustainable, because there was always something new to talk about. And the product, the creative process, and the creative minds that bring big screen movies to our theaters is just never stopped. As a matter of fact, it's gotten so big, it's spilled out into streaming services. And, there's just so much content out there that has been the best of it. And I've watched how, the music industry changed, obviously, over time, and the ability to monetize your music now is completely different than it was, 10 or 20 years ago. But the movie business has kept that exclusive window where you can only see, XYZ new movie at a theater, right? So that's been the best part of it, just the creative content that's out there. And on the other side of it is, we really haven't grown the industry that much. Okay, there's still so much competition for your entertainment dollar that it's just been scratching and clawing. And now with this new pandemic about limiting seating in movie theaters, I just hope they can survive, because they just can't pack them in like they used to, at least for the time being. So there's a real big hiccup here in terms of getting enough people into theaters. It's really been a struggle to keep that industry alive. It's right on the edge right now.
Wow. It's scary to think about. I can't, at the end of the day, could this possibly result in just basically entities drying up and going dark, only to have them slowly be brought back by new owners as time passes? Do you think, what is the prognosis?
Yeah, that it's all over the place, Eric. I mean, the biggest chain in the world, AMC Theaters, almost declared bankruptcy, but then they have found a suitor. They got an influx of cash to continue to operate. But there's also going to be smaller circuits out there that are going to have a really hard time surviving this, because it'll be quite a while before everybody can get up to capacity in the theater business here. But I got to believe, just like everybody else in the concert business and anybody that draws large crowds, will slowly but surely get back to somewhat normal, but not this year.
Well, another question is, how readily will these major studios be to dump $100 million into a blockbuster now, knowing that the audience out there is a lot smaller? Are we going to see less involved, movies that are made cheaper, or just less movies now because of all this?
Yeah, well, the pipeline's full of them right now that are sitting on the shelf, but there's also all the production has been shut down. Okay,
Right, that's just it. It's going to come to that.
Yeah, honestly, Gene, that's the hard part to know. I mean, certainly there will continue to be blockbuster movies. That's what drives the business. It's been those smaller pictures that have had trouble surviving. But the ancillary market is still strong too, because after we say in the theater business, it's the engine that drives the train. So if you're successful at the box office in that exclusive window before ancillary markets kick in, the ancillary market value is up by a successful box office release. Okay, so there's going to continue to be that blockbuster lure with worldwide appeal on those movies. It's the smaller pictures that I worry about surviving.
Yeah.
Well, with the time set up right now, I'll tell you what they shouldn't be short of, and that is scripts and stories. The writers, we should have movies for about the next 20 years because these guys have had all this time to write. I mean, it's like, I got nothing else to do. I'm going to have to write a great movie. I bet there better be a bunch of those.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because now you look on TV and you see all these crowds of people and people hugging and kissing and shaking hands, and it's like, we're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
But will there be creative content based on what it was like to be quarantined or isolated?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a very interesting thing. We are all living through this historic moment. If you think back to something as profound as 9/11, stories did emerge from that. Flight 93 or United 93 was a terrific movie, and there were others too. So, and that was a one-day event.
Right.
You can just imagine the bright minds, what they're writing right now, getting ready to be one day, 20 years from now, could be a film.
And I've got documentaries too. There's going to be a ton of documentaries from every possible angle of this thing too.
Yeah, you know what? That's true, documentaries. And I thought comedy. I mean, what can you do but laugh at your situation at certain points? I've been enjoying some of the, like Trevor Noah. I watch him most times, and some of the late night guys that are doing creative stuff sitting in their homes. I think comedy is going to be ripe from leftover from the days of the quarantine.
Gentlemen, I want to run something by you. Super saccharine sweet Jimmy Fallon got himself into some hot water in the past week from something 20 years ago. Are you both familiar with the story?
No, enlighten
All
us.
right. Well, this has happened before. It's that term, cancel culture. Someone found a video from when he was on Saturday Night Live, and he played the part of Chris Rock. And he does him to a T with the voice and the mannerisms. To do the sketch, he had similar hair and his skin was darkened. I don't like to say blackface because there is a difference between what he was doing, in my opinion, and actual blackface, which was done to stereotype a race as opposed to what he did about an actor. But anyway, the usual suspects emerged, said, this is terrible. He should be fired. I mean, it was bad news. It was all over the place. And, and this one just seemed ridiculous. And he works for NBC, Tonight Show. He did a very contrite apology and was beating himself up over it. And I felt terrible about the whole thing. And part of me was wishing he'd say, well, hell no, I'm not going to apologize. It was 20 years ago. I think differently now than I did then. I would never do something like that now. But at the time, it was funny, and I wasn't doing it to demean anyone. So go to hell. So, I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Go ahead, Ron. That's frustrating. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do understand how times have changed, and it was broadcast, right? I mean, it was something they did.
Nobody said a word,
and nobody said a word about it. And what you're saying is, comedy needs to be protected to a certain level. And I get it. There's a line that you can't cross. But I certainly, just based on what you've said, don't condemn the guy. I have nothing. I know nothing about his opinions on race, but I'm assuming he's a stand-up guy and hates everything that's happening in the headlines right now as we speak, and is changed, would never do that today. Things are different now.
Right.
I give him all the credit, and his apology is accepted in my book.
Gene, I'm guessing you feel the same way.
Yeah, he did not need to apologize at all. I mean, he's an actor. He was playing the part of a character. He wasn't. And I'm sure Chris Rock didn't care. He didn't care about it. I mean, actors do that all the time. Look at Eddie Murphy. What's the movie? Coming to America. He played a Jewish guy, and so they whited him up and turned him into a Jewish-looking guy in the character. Nobody said anything. You didn't see any uprising from the Jewish community because of that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, to me, when a person, if you look historically at blackface, these white actors would do that, and then they would act, for lack of a better word, stupid and demeaning and insulting and horrible, and just do these disgusting stereotypes. Way different. In fact, Jamie Foxx stood up and said, this is a stretch. And when you have a black actor say, no, I mean, scoreboard,
Right.
Stupid. People have way too much time on their hands. That's my point. Trying to just anything.
Well, when you're talking about comics, if you start down this path, and I get that race is a different issue than just about any other that they can talk about, but my goodness, the comedians over the years that have walked the line or crossed the line, I mean, you could drive yourself crazy trying to bring them all to justice or have them all apologize for everything they've said or done over the years. My goodness.
He owes no apology, in my opinion. Period.
Very good. I agree with exactly what you have said. We're all in the same position. It's just hard to believe that there are people that actually wanted him to not be working anymore, and that bothers me. I mean, that's the day and age we live in, where people's careers can just go poof up in smoke from something like that. Is awful.
Speaking of Chris Rock, I guess I just read that he's got a new role in the new Fargo series that's on TV. Have you seen Chris Rock playing? Okay.
No, but that sounds interesting. I'm sure he would be very good at it.
He's a terrific voice, a comedian and actor. I'm going to go searching for the new season of Fargo just because Chris Rock is in it.
Have you guys been watching anything, binging anything, streaming anything that's been on the forefront of your brains lately?
Afterlife is my new thing with Ricky Gervais. I don't know if either of you have seen any of that. I mean, he's an acquired taste, and
I love him. He's great.
Yeah, I love it. I love his monologue. Oh, never mind. Still to the best monologue ever of an award show.
Very different role for him. He plays a kind of a regular guy, works at a local newspaper, but his wife, whom he adored and loved dearly, died with cancer, and he's having a really hard time dealing with it. And so some of it has really got an edge to it on the serious side, and then it just swings wildly back with some crazy comedic stuff. They're covering stories, like a woman who uses her breast milk to make brownies, and he's like he's like gagging. It was hilarious. But then he's so depressed about the death of his wife. I mean, it's just interesting, the comedy, the tragedy of Afterlife. It's fun.
So he wrote it, directed it, acted it, right? It's all his. Well, then it's a winner. That's fantastic. Gene, how about you? You still playing? You still anything burning?
Nope, nothing new on the. I'm trying to avoid TV, and it's hard. Sports, but there aren't any, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm atypical.
Speaking of sports, are they going to play baseball, Gene? Or
if they can come to an agreement. Both sides want to do it. They just can't figure out how to make money doing it. That's it. It's the money thing right now.
Well, hockey's coming back. You're going to be happy with that.
Well, hockey has a plan to come back if they're allowed to come back.
So baseball's coming back. They all will come back.
All right. I watched a documentary, Ron, you might be interested in. It's a short watch, excuse me. It's an hour and 8 minutes. It's actually old. 2012, a documentary was made called Corporate FM. This is the tale of radio and what has led from year 1996 to, at the time, 2012, to a nosedive of not only money lost, but jobs lost. There's a couple of things that took place that led to that. And they talk about all of that with a lot of interviews with people who were in the industry, got out of the industry, somehow are hanging on in the industry, and why it is the way it is. It's super interesting. In fact, now it's like 8 years.
Where'd you see that?
I saw it on Amazon Prime.
Okay, I got to check it out.
It's called Corporate FM. And the interesting thing about it is that was, like I said, 2012. 2020, it's a lot worse. I mean, a lot of things have happened that have made it actually a lot worse since then. So might be worth a check out. And I know I've encouraged you guys, and I know, Gene, you fell in love with Chunk, the woodchuck, or I should say, he's a groundhog. Yeah, Chunk the groundhog. And Gene and Ron, did you ever look and see who he was? Did you ever
see who he was? I
mean,
watched
did you watch it? You watched it. Okay.
I was bored after about 30 seconds. I think,
yes, it's hysterical.
That's all you need is 30 seconds, and you laugh and you go on.
What do you got?
Someone sent me my good friend Kenny sent me Chunk Don't Eat Junk. They're marketing it. And there's a T-shirt coming. They sent me a T-shirt. I'm gonna have a Chunk Don't Eat Junk T-shirt.
Oh God, that's awesome.
Well, I cleaned out my desk the other day, and I uncovered one of my prized possessions I thought I'd lost, the Rover Dangerfield coffee mug. Now,
if
you've never, Rodney Dangerfield, one of the classic comics. If you've never seen Rover Dangerfield, look that one up from 1980. I got the mug. Okay.
Wow, that's a perk of so many years in the film industry, no doubt.
Right.
Ron, everybody's happy for you. I don't want to say anybody's sad for you because we're still going to talk to you.
Yeah. Most people have that sort of reaction. Am I supposed to be happy or sad? And I'm like, be happy.
Yeah.
Man. That's great. There's nothing to be sad about. You've given
my gosh.
done your time, man.
Yes, I'm ready. Although you guys have got to help me. I've lost my sign off here, I can't keep using the see at the movies.
Yeah,
anymore.
no, you won't. I don't want to blurt anything out because it'll lay flat. I'm gonna have to chew on that in my noggin. And I suggest you guys do the same, and then we'll reconvene and
let's have a contest. We'll have a podcast contest. Come up
Ron's
with a new
sign off.
Perfect. I'm ready.
Okay. Well, we'll encourage people to reach out, Eric at ericzaneshow.com, please, and tell me what you think Ron's sign-off should be. Gene, you had the final word.
Well, not final for me, but I just wanted to, next week when we get back together, we don't have time to discuss it tonight, but I want to talk about the Big Mac Chaffle. I want to talk about the series that you're doing. I watched that. It's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. So we'll talk about that next week.
Oh, I'm excited. I can't wait for next week then, because I just had a second one the other day, and it's just like, this is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, just looking at the ingredients list, I can't imagine it is, but all right.
I couldn't believe it either. When I saw that all that makes a Big Mac, I was like, what are you, crazy? I might as well go in the yard and get grass and poo,
dirt,
wood chips. But no, it worked, man.
All right.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I can't wait till the next podcast either. So
I'll fill you in, Ron. Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay. Gentlemen, I love you very much. I'll talk to you down the road. Thank you
love
again.
You too. Goodbye.
Congrats.